single flame can light a million more.
Good evening. You guys having fun? I'm not. This has been the, I started building this amp on Friday of last week, and these should only take about, an hour to do, or not an hour, about 5 hours maybe at the most to do. And tonight's Tuesday evening and I finally finished it. And we're going to go over why. So, I've ordered all of these little 50-volt switchers and didn't think anything about it. So, each one of these switchers are anywhere from $40 to $50 a whack. There's 100, there's 200. I didn't think anything about it. I've been using mean wells up till this point. And so I ordered these from one of my suppliers, 3, 4. Ordered some of these from my suppliers, and they show up here, and I go and I slap them inside this box. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. And there's an odd duck out. Doesn't matter, garbage anyhow. There's an odd duck out. It's the name that showed up on him. There's also Sunbeams in there. Homewell, not Honeywell, Homewell power supplies. And Yahoo, WHUO 50-volt switchers. So I start out, and this device uses 4 of these to supply the current for the ldmos. Hold on a second, let me grab that. For the little BLF 188 XRs. These little guys. This is what makes the universe chooch around when it comes to the ldmos, right? At about $200 a whack. They're $189 a piece after shipping. So I put 4 in there and I turn it on, and the first key I get, they go boop boop boop. I'm like, what the shit? That's $200 just went down the toilet. Well, I saw a log hitting the toilet. So I thought, man, I must have had my blocking wrong. Some RF must have fed back into the power supplies. Well, I pull those 4 out, and I put 4 more in. So now, these are all supposedly good, as in like they're not blown up yet. I just got tired of trying different things at this point, because then it dawned on me it wasn't the supply, it wasn't the box, it was the supplies. We're going to get those out of the way. So we'll take 4 out of the equation. So I put in 4 more. We'll say it's these 4, which it doesn't matter at this point. say it's that for. And I key it all up after I made sure I got enough ferrite on everything, blocking RF just in case, make sure everything's grounded. And made it about 3 keys. And they go, blum, 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 and they all quit. Now I've built 13 of these bastards, or 12 of these bastards, up until I built this one. Right? So I take all these out. So now it's Saturday morning. Right? I'm like, well, I got more of these. We're going to figure out what the hell's going on. So then I take and I roll the gate voltage way back on these FETs to try and help protect them until I can figure out what's going on. And also the gate voltage is the sole-hearted thing that allows this thing to run. So by rolling a gate voltage back, every time I key the thing, it wasn't putting hardly any load on it. So I get out my handy-dandy fluke meter and I put it on each one of these things. And so now we've got 4 brand new fresh units in there with the gate voltage at 0 volts. So when you key it, it pulls 5 amps worth of current. And 30 seconds later, boom, 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 boom. Saturday morning. I'm $600 down at this point. So I'm like, I have a few more. So I put 4 more in. These 4 lovely little devices right here. Put 4 more in. But I don't bolt them all the way down because I have zero faith at this point. These things are labeled as 7.5 amp, 48 volt supplies. I ordered 7.5 amp mean wells. This is what my supplier sent me. Now, if you guys are following along on, Facebook, you would have seen me. I did a live feed now video where I took one of these completely apart and I showed the difference between mean well and what I bought. Right? And there is a night and day difference. They look the same on the outside, but they ain't the same on the inside. Now, Sunday comes around at this point, and I spent all day tinkering with this thing, trying to get it to run right. Meanwhile, I popped another 2 supplies, and they just randomly went. Now, we're not putting a large load on them, because each one of these devices should only pull about 15 amps apiece. So between the 2 of them, there's 30 amps worth of current load, right? Should be well within the spec qualifications for these. Well, they weren't. As far as I can tell, about half of these can only put out about 3.5 amps worth of current. Yeah. And the other half can put out about 2 before they decide they're going to detonate. So I'm in the process of getting a refund on all of these. But meanwhile, in the background, this poor guy is looking for a heart. It's like the Tin Man. Everything would be golden if we just find a poor guy a heart. This is the tin from the one I took apart on Facebook, you guys. And really, there's a lot more interactive stuff if you guys follow along with me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I do a lot of interactive videos with things. So, I get on the phone with Minister in the corner. And he proceeds to tell me he's got cases of power supplies. So I thought, well, I'll get a couple supplies from him that are Meanwell, actually Meanwells, not copies. I purchased a couple bigger supplies from him. These little multi supplies, this works great for the little starter kit 12 volt stuff. If you buy the 30 amp version of these. And they're actually what they say they are on the inside, and you don't get a bad batch, as they've been referred to. I've had several friends call me and say, man, you just got a bad batch of supplies. No, they're just garbage. So, they work okay. little cheap 12-volt power supplies that everybody's selling for their CB stuff. They're, you know, the 2879 stuff. They work okay for that, but this shop is going to use Meanwell and Meanwell exclusively. Now, I get my new big supply. It's the CSE, I think 1000-48, which is a 31 amp continuous load, like 45 amp surge load, switch mode supply. I have the 12 volt version of that here. I've got four of them tied together, and that's what runs my workbench, that I can put 600 amps worth of DC load on out of 4 switch mode supplies that are roughly about twice this size. So I have a lot of good confidence in that. But back to the story of this guy. Look, I gave the customer my word it would ship today. It's going to have to wait till tomorrow. I've had a nightmare of project things happen in the last week. Now, the customer that owns this box now, Charles, Mr. Redfish, he's a good old boy, and what he was looking for was just an amp that would do 2,000 watts. A little bit more, a little bit less. He, I don't know if you guys have been following along with the fallout around the Smiley CB shop. Smiley ran around and took money from everybody, and has not been able to deliver a single damn thing, basically, that worked right here recently. Now, please note, until this point, I have never said a negative thing about another builder or another shop until now. Smiley shipped a 10,000 that he had the meter shunt in it that was made with like 2 straight out of Radio Shack 5 meg resistors, and the high voltage arced over that meter shunt, blew the meter up, and the owner of the box, Mr. Eric Harbord, which everybody knows, he's lucky he's still with us. And when you almost kill somebody, that's bad. When the quality of the build is so bad that you turn it on, you're almost killing people with it. That's the reason I don't like to build tubes for people. I don't like to build tube amplifiers. I've got a couple of them that I'm going to roll out so I can strategically place them around the country and see what kind of hate and discontent they can create. But reliability with the tube amplifiers is much higher. This is a whole lot safer technology, the 50 volt stuff. There's not 7,000 and 8,000 plate volts running around on the inside of the cabinet that's going to friggin' worse than an electric chair kill somebody. I don't want to have that on my conscience. So, anyhow, from what I can understand, Smiley CB Shop is no longer in business. They have closed their doors. They're no longer answering their phone, and they have run for the hills. All that aside, Red was one of the victims. He was one of the first victims of this shop. And so when he came to me, I knew I had to do a solid. I absolutely could not sidestep. There couldn't be any delays. Everything needed to happen the way I said it would. So here we are. It's Tuesday night. This thing was supposed to ship this morning, and it's going to ship tomorrow morning. And what I did the night before last, is I went into my own 2-pill 50 volt MOSFET box and ripped all the Meanwell power supplies out of it and put them in here and got this thing running for him, because I'd exhausted my source of 50 volt switchers that were up in this joint. As I'm standing here shooting this video, I just looked over to my storage bench and I see 3 more 50 volt switch supplies that are sitting over there that are also toast, that I forgot I even had, that didn't make it up on the counter. But in the adventure of miniaturization, I'll show you something. This is for a different build. I cannot use them in this box. Things keep getting smaller, you guys. Look at those bad little mamma jammas. Those are 50 volt, 7.3 amp, switch mode Meanwells. That's one of the predecessors, the old models. Look at how small that guy is. 7.3 amp, 48 volt, meanwhile. So, depending on how the testing of these go, which they're going to get multiple hours of use, we're going to take them past their absolute max load output potential, because these are supposed to have shutdown circuitry and all kinds of other neat little tricky shit in them. Instead of having to create enough space inside the cabinet to occupy 4 of these, we use 4 of these little guys. That allows us to take the 2-pill and put it in a 16-pill size cabinet instead of a 24-pill size cabinet. But for the time being, until I can get around to where I can actually play with a lot of these, because man, I've got more work here than I could ever possibly shake a stick at. You guys have kept me busy, and I'm here to tell you, you guys, have kept me so busy, it's been painful. And I really feel this huge weight on my shoulders to try and get everything out. And there's only one of me. Plus working a full-time job and a family, it's a little challenging, to say the least. But it's for fun. We're still having fun with it. And you guys sure seem like you enjoy the videos, so we're going to keep chooching on that too. Now, in the process of these power supplies popping, we had some weird voltage curls that came off of the power supplies, little voltage spikes. And first we lost this FET. If you can see down in there or not, I don't know. Let's see if it'll focus or not focus. See down there in the tabs? It did something. The inside of the FET, it arced over as soon as we try to reload it. So that's an additional $180, $189. And this one, the source and the drain output tabs are shorted completely out on one side of the FET. That's all from those switch mode supplies going south. Now, I did have some problems last night. Also, when the voltage spikes hit, they happened to take out some of the surface mount tech that is on the input board. See if I can get it to get over here on camera without me losing any of these little bits. It took a little while to track down what had happened and then install the replacement parts, because, well, as we all know, SMA is a bitch. Got a couple diodes and a couple resistors open up, and they were causing the gate voltage to not be even to both input or source tabs on the FETs. So I had to figure that out too. I eventually just ended up pulling the thing out and building a whole new one. So, all that aside, guess what? Hey, Red? You're done, brother. Now I'm going to take this thing off the tripod. I'm going to set this amp down flat. We're going to talk about the amp, and when we come back, we're going to test this thing with a little bit of drive. And I already shot a video off to Red of me running this thing on the air so he could see what it was doing into her antenna. And per se, a simulated antenna. Say that for legal reasons only, guys. When we get back, we're going to give this thing a run for its money. See you in a minute. Bye. You guys remember that coax connector from the last video? This ain't going to be that kind of video. Red called me and says, man, can you throw me a lifeline? I said, yeah, dude, I'll help you out. The deal got off to a little bit of a rocky start. The first one of these MOSFET boxes I sent out for production, the guy asked me if I'd sell it for him. I tried to sell it to Red. The whole deal fell apart. So anyhow, make a long story short, I built him another one. And I have learned a ton in the trials and tribulations of going through this thing. For the first, like, 2/3 of those power supplies, I started thinking it can't be the supplies. I've had such great luck with them. And then it started to sink in that it was nothing going on with the board or how I was controlling the FETs or the way I was feeding the power to the FETs or anything. It was the power supplies. So once we got that figured out, it was pretty short order to overcome it and be able to move forward. But then dealing with all the consequences of the different parts it burned up downline, that took up a great deal of time too. But it's all over with. Red, you said you wanted blue. You got blue, bro. Said you wanted high flow, low noise fans. You got those too. You said you don't do a lot of sideband talking. That's fine. Sideband. Remember on sideband, Red, you want to keep your drive below 10 watts. Down below 10 watts. AM, 30 watts peak. Now you told me you got a little radio that does about 25, 30 watts worth of drive and you wanted to see around 2,000 watts. That's exactly what we gave you. We're going to demonstrate that now. How we're going to do that is we're going to go around the loop. That's a 1,000 watt slug. It's currently in 2x position. We're going to leave it alone. That's a 100 watt slug. It's in PEP mode, bird PEP, and it's going forward. And that's a 5 watt slug in reverse back from the bird 10,000 watt dummy load. We're going to use our RCI 2950. And we're going to hit it on 12 volts. So this puppy, when I grabbed a mic with on 12 volts, audio, does roughly 25 watts of drive. Audio. Not 28. You said you holler in it real good, it would get up around 28. Let's go ahead and let's pull this 100 watt slug out because we're going to destroy it. Put our 1,000 watt slug in there as always. Turn the bird peak kit off. So it's reading average. So it's 1,000 watt and 2x, so it's 2,000 watt scale. 1,000 watt slug in average, 5 watt slug in reverse. So 1.5 watt carrier, dead key red. Hello. I'll get you about 2,000 peak. Hello. Audio. No problem. Hello. Audio. 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 With a whole whopping 28 watts worth of drive. This is an auto key. Sideband, optional. Remember, red, turn the drive down on sideband, keep below 10 watts. And that'll get you about 1,200-1,300 watts on sideband. Which if they can't hear you on that, their ears are deaf. Amp number 14. Done. It's in the done books. Now, I'm going to come down here. I'm going to flip that switch. I'm going to flip that switch. I'm going to flip that switch. And we're going to run our input power up just a little bit. We're going to go up to 14 volts. It's a soft or MOSFET final, so that means it's going to put out a little bit more power. Hello in the corner. Hello in the corner. Take her on down to 5x. Putting about 32, 33 watts of drive into this radio at the moment, Red. So reading that middle scale, 10s 1,000, 20s 2. Hello, audio. Hello, audio. The reason I'm doing that, Red, is because I want to show you what it's capable of. That's it. They just run. Steep learning curve overcome. Red, I apologize for the delay, brother. It's going to be out the door to you tomorrow. Gentlemen, my name is BBI. I am doing everything I can to help everybody I can in the shortest order that I'm able to do it. But I have a tendency to get on one project and stay there till it's completed and running 100%, which could be my downfall. Taking into account I've got like 700 plus projects up here to work on. Look, you guys, there's one of me, there's a bunch of you, and we're all in this boat together. I appreciate everybody's patience. I was talking with my wife about that, how we're going to try and speed up things, getting them out the door around here, and she's like, these guys are awesome. Because we live in a don't wait for anything universe. And if you can't wait, it's not worth having. You guys are awesome the way you treat me. And allowing me freedom to be able to just sit over here and create these wonderful things for all of you guys. And I say thanks. Come check us out. www.bbiamps.com. Another dude, 10-8 straight. Another amp out the door. It's been a stressful last couple days, and I'm glad it's all done. I'll see you guys. I'm out. Bye. Biggest mud dug in Idaho got down. I'll see you.